I welcome everybody to May 26th, Modernizing Business with AI by Cloud Brigade and Santa Cruz Works. I am your host, Doug Erickson, and let's see if I can get this to work. But we also have Matthew Swinnerton here. And Matthew, do you want to pop in? And
Hello, everybody. Glad to be here this morning or afternoon or brunch or whatever time we're at.
whatever it is, yeah. We want to thank our sponsors to begin with. They did have made so much of this possible. All right, let's welcome Cloud Brigade.
All right, thank you, Doug. I appreciate it. Let me go ahead and share my screen here. All right, so this is Modernizing Business with AI. Thank you, Santa Cruz Works, for hosting us, and good morning, everyone. Here you're going to learn how business can benefit from artificial intelligence and machine learning. So my name's Chris Miller. I'm the founder of the company. And today we have with us Matt Patterson. He is our data scientist. And fortunately, he's also an English major, which came in really handy in putting together this presentation.
Good morning.
So a little bit about Cloud Brigade. We were founded in 2005. We just turned 16 years old this year. And we love to solve complex business problems with technology. We're a trusted strategic advisor to our clients, and we have over 30 technology and alliance partners, including Santa Cruz Works and Amazon Web Services, Looker, UCSC, and more. So I just want to set an agenda so you know what to expect here. First, we want to talk about what is AI, to demystify that. We're going to go over some business use cases, and we're going to talk a bit on how you might implement AI within your company, and finally end with questions and answers. So here I'm going to turn it over to Matt to answer the question, what is AI?
Thank you, Chris, and thank you, Doug and Matthew over at Santa Cruz Works for having us. So AI is a very broad term. It's a term that tends to mean different things to different people. Some of us immediately think of sci-fi movies with dangerous autonomous robots that have their own free will when we hear about AI, but really, AI refers to the simulation of human intelligence in computers, not actual sentient computers. According to Wikipedia, artificial intelligence was founded as an academic discipline back in 1955. In the years since, has experienced several waves. Colloquially, the term artificial intelligence is often used to describe machines that mimic cognitive functions that humans associate with human minds, such as learning and problem solving. So why now? Since this technology has been around for 65 years, why has it only become a big deal recently? Well, that has a lot to do with computing power. The fact that the computer's speed has evolved a lot more slowly than the evolution of the theory is really what's held us back. But recently, this power has become a reality. So without getting into the weeds on computing power or semiconductors or GPUs, we'll just say that the last 10 to 20 years has finally given us the power that we've needed all of these years to put those AI dreams into production. For example, Siri. Siri is very in line with what we think about when we think of AI. Siri or Google Assistant or Alexa can hear our spoken voice, can transcribe that into text, can then understand the words that we're speaking, and search the internet for the answers to our questions, all in near real time. This happens using several machine learning models, and machine learning is just a subset of artificial intelligence. If you think that all of this is cutting edge, you should remember that Siri was released in 2011. It's already 10 years old. This is not a new technology. This is not something of the future anymore. This is now. So we can also see examples of AI and machine learning in Snapchat filters, like those little ears and the big tongues that they have on, Snapchat and Instagram. We can see the facial recognition models on Facebook that were, automatically tagged in all these photos that we didn't even know were taken. Or, in your smartphone, in your photos folders, you might have already noticed there's a people or a selfie folder. And if you want to, you can tag the photos in your phone, in your smartphone with, your partner's name or your parent's name, and those names will just automatically hit on the photos you put in the future. These are all using machine learning models, and this is all easy to conceptualize because we use them today. But there are even less obvious examples of AI or ML that we do use today, such as the autocomplete in your Google search or spam filters on our email servers. These are all machine learning models too. So AI is what we get when we try to make a computer act like a human brain. According to the BBC, artificial intelligence, or AI for short, is technology that enables a computer to think or act in a more human way. It does this by taking information from its surroundings and then deciding its response or its action based on what it learns or senses. The computer program is created to take information and have that information observed and acted on by a number of different what are called neurons, or thought of as neurons or nodes, just like in our brain. Same idea. This process then results in an action of some kind, depending on what the program is supposed to do.
Artificial intelligence, or AI, is just an umbrella term for all of these technologies, many of which are driven by machine learning. Let's look at a fun example. This is the blog Opera. It's an experiment by Google.
You can see this is not a cartoon. Chris is dragging these singers manually with the computer interface.
So what's happening here? As you drag the individual voices or singers, AI knows how to harmonize with the other voices. They created a machine learning algorithm with a computer model to interact with the user. The model was trained on data, the information about what an opera is and how those sounds are supposed to fit together with one another. In other words, it finds correlations between the different sounds. And through using what are called neural networks, or a series of neurons that mimic how our brain works, the model is able to keep up with all the sounds, keep them in harmony and with each other while I drag the highest pitch singer up and down in the web application.
That was awesome. Yeah, machine learning can be a lot of fun. But to help conceptualize it in a more practical terms, like more business use cases, I like to think about Zillow. So if you're anything like me, you're probably looking at Zillow or Redfin on a weekly basis to see the changes in pricing in real estate across the country. So Zillow provides the ability on its application or its website for you to sort by price. But sifting by price on these homes, that's not an example of artificial intelligence. That's just a spreadsheet problem. Zillow can use machine learning though. In this case, you can see Zillow's telling us that this home is ridiculously priced. This one bedroom home in Santa Cruz, California is listed at $500,000, even though it's only 644 square feet with one toilet. But Zillow uses a machine learning model to predict what it thinks that this house should sell for. Based on the various facts and features that we see in the middle of this slide right here, Zillow uses this machine learning model to infer what the price should be, that it should be somewhere between $337,000 to $494,000, which you can see on the right in Zillow's Zestimate. Zillow also uses a forecasting model to predict what the price of this home will be in the coming year, based on all the historical data it has on this home, as well as the homes in the surrounding area. And then there's another model that you can see on that graph that predicts the price of all the homes in this zip code. One of my favorite use cases for machine learning is actually customer segmentation and marketing strategy, which I'm sure sounds really boring, but I used to work in sales and marketing. This is something that can be used as a tool by your existing marketing team to find insights about your customers or your target market. So every marketing manager knows that there are specific cohorts of customers that your brand is best positioned for, and that you need to spend your marketing dollars wisely in order to target market those segments. Whether you're choosing which television shows to advertise during, or which podcasts to carry your ads, or even picking social media audiences with laser precision, customer segmentation is vital to any marketing operation. Now, the traditional customer cohorts that you are probably familiar with are generational. Things like, do Gen Xers buy our products, or are they Gen Zs? Are men or women more likely to buy from us? If you're in the wine business, like I used to be, you might get really specific and target market to women between 21 and 40 who also take yoga classes and have children and live in exurb communities with over $100,000 median incomes located near large cities. Super specific. But there's two questions that you always ask, even when you laser focus here, and that's one, why? Why are we choosing these traits instead of other traits? Is it somebody's gut feeling? Is it maybe the intended audience of our intended branding? The second question is what? What are we missing? What other best prospects are we missing because we're only targeting these ones? Or what other information do we have about our customers, or can we acquire very easily that we don't yet know? So how do you know the right questions to ask in order to split up your prospective customers so that you maximize your profits and minimize your marketing costs? Using machine learning, we can cluster all of these customers that you currently know about into groups that you might not be considering. Maybe you have a certain group of customers, for example, that have all purchased from your company 2 or more times. And you know through testing you've done internally that any customer that buys from you 3 times is 80% likely to purchase from you 3 more times. Who is that customer? Who makes up that particular person so that you can market just to them? Maybe this person's not necessarily male or female, not necessarily young or old, not a doctor or a lawyer or a kindergarten teacher, but maybe there's something else that the data can tell us. And with a customer segmentation model, we can put tens or hundreds of descriptive factors into a model that will group your customers into clusters based on all these factors. We can then label each group of customers and see what their common traits and characteristics are. Most likely, the strongest factors are not your typical gender and age categories. Maybe they are specific zip codes that wouldn't normally sound familiar, such as a Midwestern town that happens to have an affinity for theater and wine, and a working class suburb on the East Coast that happens to have Italian dinner every Friday and Sunday. By using all of these data in your marketing and advertising strategy, you save money by not targeting the wrong type of people and not missing out on the low-hanging fruit, those people who are already looking for your product or who already want to buy it. You can also compute the lifetime value, or how much return on investment, or in other words, how profitable each of these cohorts will actually be in the long run.
If you've ever used digital advertising like Google Ads or Facebook, you've probably seen lookalike audiences. And this is an example of machine learning in action.
And it's also, where the tools that Cloud Brigade can build for you really hit their sweet spot. It's this marriage of the data science, the software development, and IT ops. We can build machine learning models that are fully integrated with your reporting software or your point of sales data and your customer relationship software, and then program these to deliver high-level dashboards with low-level drill-down capabilities. Once these are in place, you'll be able to put a solid number on that lifetime value of each prospective customer, or each, just new customer, or each repeat customer, like that buys 3 and they're going to buy 3 more times type of person. And then within these cohorts, you can then just make data-driven decisions on how much money to spend so that as a business, you're returning the highest possible profit from the customers that you're reaching. Well, probably one of the most interesting topics right now in natural language in machine learning is NLP, or natural language processing. With the introduction recently of what are called transformer models a couple of years ago, natural language processing has made grand leaps and bounds from that old robotic language that we used to be familiar with. We're at a point now where natural language processing can interpret sentiment, context, and content with low latency models. Are you using these yet in your contact center? You might have chatbots or automated voice routing of your phone calls, but are you using AI to classify your customer emails? If you're not scanning your emails with AI, then you're probably spending too much money reading emails. Your general email queue, for example, like info@ or support@yourcompany.com, it can be a great source of help and information to your company. But how do you know what's inside those emails until you've spent time reading them? More appropriately, how do you make sure that at the end of a workday, you don't miss an important email, like an angry customer who writes in around 3 p.m.? You know that one business day is an acceptable response time. It's probably within your service level agreements or your SLA. But in this case, if you'd have answered that email in the first hour that you've received it, you very well might have prevented this customer from torching you on social media or Yelp, or from demanding a full refund from the product, or worse. A simple solution is to leverage a natural language processing model that can label your emails in near real time with positive or negative sentiment, so that you can make sure you're attending to those priority emails as soon as you receive them. This works just like a spam filter, only instead of weeding out the spam, it actually alerts you to the important messages so that you can give them your immediate attention. Natural language processing, or NLP, it can also route your emails from the general queue to the right team or person who might be best equipped to handle your questions or problems. I mean, you really don't want your engineers answering customer emails. That's just very expensive use of their time. But maybe the email is actually from another engineer, or maybe it's a bug report about your website or your product that's going to be very helpful for the engineer to read and respond to. Maybe the question is meant for your marketing or accounting team, but your customer service staff has to spend 2 to 5 minutes reading the email, then another few minutes asking for their supervisor's opinion on how they should handle this, and then another 5 minutes writing an email to the correct department and saying, I know this isn't your real job, but here's this email. Before too long, this customer question, this single question, has cost you an hour of total labor time between all the different staff that's had to screen it, answer it, and follow up on it. And if an email like this comes in to your business twice a day, which is typical in a medium-sized business, you could be looking at 500 hours of wasted labor just because your team's trying to do their best they can to help out your customer. How much money will 500 labor hours cost you with your team? If you use the median customer service salary in California, or $20 an hour, that could cost you $10,000. And if your managers end up working these emails, well, that's going to be costing you so much more. But there's a better way. That's where smart dispatching comes in. See, we can scan and screen every email the moment that it comes in and tag it in near real time with both the sentiment analysis flag and the department that's most appropriate to handle the question. With custom integrations, smart dispatching can allow your team to handle the most important emails first and save time by not having to read and reread emails that are meant for another department. It even has the ability to reassign the emails in the queue if for some reason, the proper agent can't follow up on this, or maybe won't be here the next day. We can build a queue with an easy to use interface for your organization so that you're not only saving money, but you'll have a happier and friendlier staff who is more productive, not stressed out by the roadblocks and attention shifting needed to handle all these questions that they just didn't have the answers to. Also, the technology that powers smart dispatching can be used for more than just an email filter. For example, your website may already have a search function on it so that your customers can search for products or features or services. But did you know that we can build that same functionality to search your internal documents for your team, such as your training manuals or company documentation? We can also program a voice assistant so you can have the power of Alexa applied to your company's daily data. You could wake up in the morning, grab your smartphone, and ask it, what your profit totals were yesterday, or, what your margin was last quarter. You can also utilize natural language processing to analyze your emails for marketing purposes. For example, you can analyze the topics, the sentiment, the keywords, the intent of all these emails or search queries, and then you can use that to really boost your web research and your market research. You can shed light on all kinds of different trends in business, analyze data to identify customer pain points, for example. So there's a lot there. Another area too where machine learning can help you is your company's computer vision. For example, have you ever seen drones flying up over the neighborhood and wonder what they're doing? Well, what if they could be making you money? This here is an example of how a solar panel company might use drone footage or satellite imagery to generate sales leads. By utilizing a computer vision model, drone imagery can be used to find leads and alert you to them by identifying houses that already have solar panels or, the ones that do not. How does your business currently find its leads? Back when I used to work in truck rental many years ago, I used to drive around different cities and look at their dooryards of businesses to find box trucks and tractor trailers. If they had tractor trailers or box trucks in front of the business, then that business was a new lead. And that was really expensive. Ryder paid me for every mile I drove my car. And even though I was salaried and not being paid by the hour, if I was out looking for new possible prospects and leads, then I was not making phone calls to those leads. If I was writing down DOT numbers on trucks, I wasn't closing business and bringing more money in for the company. So how does your company find leads? Another great use for what I like to call AI in the sky is farming and agriculture. When I worked in the wine industry up in Napa Valley, vineyard managers and winemakers would walk through the vineyards and they'd collect samples of grapes to perform maintenance, like pruning back the canopy at veraison. Veraison is a period where the dark green grapes, they turn to either purple or yellow, as they're getting ripened. Anyway, all that work takes a lot of time. And the bigger the vineyard gets, the less likely that a vineyard manager or winemaker is going to walk every acre and visually inspect every vine outside of those prescribed, pruning jobs. We've recently started looking into using computer vision models to monitor crops. There are already optimized models out there that let us look at crop health and determine from aerial photographs if the crops are experiencing any damage from virus or fungus or insects or deer, bird encroachment. We were also recently contacted by someone in the ag industry who told us that the industry is notoriously struggling with predicting crop yields and harvest timing. Having AI in the sky to monitor that progress can make forecasting yields and scheduling your harvest crews dependable. And then the added accuracy and predictions can help you keep your costs in check too. Plus, rather than having to spend money on labor or gas or diesel or send people out on tractors or pickup trucks just to keep an eye out, you could send a drone up in the sky, program it to fly the same grid and survey your crops every day to identify the areas that need a second look or a human touch. These models can classify the damage source. They can recommend courses of action just by querying the internet like Siri does. And, pretty soon, in addition to labor costs, you're saving money on crop forecasting, on yield management, so that on a sudden unforeseen malady, you don't have a reduced output, or at least you're planning for it.
Computer vision is particularly a very cool capability within machine learning, and you'd be amazed at the creative ways that you can use this technology to solve problems. Computer vision can be used for public safety and home security, like you've probably seen with Ring doorbells, content management and analysis, medical imaging, process control, and even autonomous driving. And yes, it's true. We actually built a device to detect pooping dogs and shoo them away. We set it up over at Doug Erickson's house. It was something we thought of as a joke, but as we found, there was actually real interest in this use case. So what else can you do? We've shown you several use cases of AI and machine learning, and those use cases are based on the underlying problems that AI can solve. On this slide, you get the idea of the myriad of underlying capabilities that AI has that can be leveraged to solve your specific business problems.
While you're seeing only some examples of machine learning so far, it's never too early to rethink your business structure with an AI-first mentality. It's important to think about AI not as one algorithm that you can add on a single part of your business, but rather as a way to rethink your business. When you adopt AI and imagine your business from an AI-first perspective, you utilize the power of AI to keep your business relative in the future as your competition streamlines theirs. Part of this is rethinking the KPIs that you measure your progress and success against. Part of it's using predictive analysis and predictive analytics to plan your headcount instead of reactively hiring staff after the rest of your team is already working overtime to handle a higher demand. Part of it's planning new technology for what you think is coming next year and being ready to handle that right now. Having said that, converting some of your departments and processes before you convert your whole business lets you learn some of the pitfalls one at a time. And then you can iterate over the rest of your business with the right solutions.
Now that you've seen what machine learning can do, let's talk about how to approach machine learning in your business. The first question you should be asking yourself is, do I have a machine learning problem? Many business problems can be solved with spreadsheets or analytics. Questions like, what was my profit margin last month? That is not a machine learning problem. A business problem that is also a machine learning problem involves using technology that learns from your data and can then make predictions or correlations based on that data. If we just want to find the most expensive homes or the ones at a specific price point, as we discussed, this is not a machine learning problem. That's a spreadsheet problem. Learning what attributes or features make a home the most valuable in a given market is an act of machine learning. Machine learning models can look at the many features such as the size of the yard. Does it have a pool or a hot tub? Is it located downtown, maybe near a bar? The general age of the structure, and figure out the correlation between each one of those features to the home price and to the other features. Machine learning models can take in lots and lots of data from your favorite real estate app and sift through a series of features and generalize what makes homes more or less expensive or valuable. Then if you wanted to estimate the price of your own home, you can fill in 10 or 20 different pieces of information, and the model could return you an estimated value based on your location. That's machine learning. Here's a general workflow that shows how we would approach a machine learning problem. And the first step is defining the problem, is or is it not a machine learning problem? And then we collect the data that you have available from your business, and we develop a model around that data, test and refine it, and then we deploy it and put it into service. To use machine learning, you have to have a source of data, whether that's images from a camera or data from your business applications. Depending on what your business does, you may be asking yourself, well, what data do I even have to work with, and is it even useful? Well, it turns out you probably have a lot more data than you were aware. All businesses use an accounting system such as QuickBooks, or maybe an ERP system like SAP. There is a treasure trove of data about your business in that one system alone. These are examples of the kinds of data that you have in your accounting system. And while there are reports and analytics that can provide insights about your business, you can derive much more information about your business by applying machine learning to this data. Here are some examples on how we can use data and machine learning to gain rich insights. You may be aware that your customers churn, or even what the churn rate is, but do you know why they churn? You may have variances in sales volume across your product line, but can you tie these changes to an obvious influencing factor, such as seasonality? Are your employees focusing their efforts in the right places for the maximum impact to your business? Using your accounting data, and correlating this data with other software that you use can help to answer these kinds of questions. Your business likely uses more than one cloud-based software tool, and you have valuable data inside those applications. Almost every one of those tools has something called an API, which is just a mechanism that allows us to collect all of that underlying data. With that data, we can build something called a data pipeline, which allows us to make that data available to the machine learning tools. From the machine learning models that we can then provide actionable insights through analytics, we can produce notifications that are real time, and we can even automate processes within your business, including those that face your customers or your employees. As you can see, there's a lot of opportunity to use AI in solving business problems. We couldn't cover it all here, and we thought now we'd like to answer questions you may be having about using AI in your business.
Great. Thank you so much, Matt and Chris. Wow, what an amazing explanation on what AI is. I don't think I've ever had or heard such a digestible presentation explaining AI and machine learning. So thank you very much. So we do have quite a few questions that were pre-sent to us by our viewers, but if you have a question for Chris and Matt, please put it in the Q&A, and we do have a few minutes here so we can ask them. First question though, and this is going to be a tough one, Chris and Matt, so get your thinking caps on. Where do you find the Blob Opera? Is it a website? Is it what? Where is that?
Yeah, so Google has an experimental division that runs these artistic experiments, and if you just Google for Blob Opera, it's the first thing that comes up.
Oh my goodness, that's like the new solitaire of work now. Okay, let's get to a real one here. Okay, so one question that was asked, can we use AI with facial recognition to find criminals?
Yes, you can, and this is a hot topic issue. Obviously, we've all heard of Big Brother and worry about that. I've heard that Ring in particular, the doorbell, those doorbells with the cameras built into them, they're actually able to correlate data between different residences so that if somebody is, stealing your Amazon packages off your porch, that same person might be viewed at your neighbors down the street. Maybe your camera didn't get a good shot at this person, but it puts together that whole history of like, where did this person go, and to get good facial shots, which then can be turned into law enforcement. So certainly, if you have security cameras, you can actually hook AI into an existing surveillance system and then leverage machine learning on top of that to do just that type of thing.
Great, thank you. And thank you, Doug, for putting in the chat. If anybody wants to see the Blob Opera, the link is in the chat. Okay, next question. Is this, and of course, referring to AI, is this the same tech that they use in autonomous cars?
Yes, they do. In fact, one of my own first personal experiences with AI was with the Amazon Web Services Deep Racer Racing League. And they took computer vision and put it on a tiny RC car, and it gave us a rudimentary system to learn how to program the car to drive itself using computer vision. Of course, the cars that drive out on the streets there and Mountain View around the Google campus, those have a lot more complex systems, much more data coming in from LiDAR sensors and other sorts of sensors, but machine learning is absolutely used to accomplish that feat.
Great, thank you. Next question, and this is a question that actually quite a few people asked. I'm kind of going to lump it together, but will AI and machine learning replace my current staff? Am I going to have to, and some people are nervous that they're going to lose their job because of AI.
Why don't you take this, Matt?
Yeah, so no is the fast answer. I think the great thing about AI and machine learning is that it's giving us tools to make us all not only better and more efficient at the jobs that we already do, but it's helping us to take that next step forward. For example, I got into computer science because years ago I was a sales director, and I was asked to use MySQL. It's a database querying software, essentially to pull all kinds of data and build all kinds of reports so that the company had an idea what's going on with the business every week. That took me 30 hours a week. I was, a little bit new to management, but at the same time, I was spending all this time building these reports, deleting data, building a dashboard, or a view to see all the information in one pane, and then presenting it to the, CEO and, going over, okay, how do we get better on this? Is this the same as our other forecast? All of that took me 30 hours a week. Then I still had a whole 30-hour-a-week job to manage the team, implement these programs. When I finally automated that and I created a system to make it only happen in 1 hour, suddenly I had an entire whole work week still open. So that allowed me to be more creative in my job, to be a better manager and work with the people better. And also to, think more about what action we're going to take with this data instead of spending all of our time collecting it. That's just one example. If you're in customer service and, the example we talked about earlier with smart dispatching, your team's going to be happier, they're going to be more efficient, and they're probably going to make, more sales on the phone to people who call in with questions or need help because they're already, more comfortable. They already understand the things more. And if they need to use something like searching internal documents with intelligent search, it helps them to have the answers ready to go when customers are asking them. So there's lots of ways that AI and machine learning is going to make you more effective at your job and therefore not be replaced by it. At the end of the day, we can do a lot of great things with AI and machine learning to help us. But if we're implementing it right, it'll allow us to make the people that we already have better at what they do.
So just be more productive. Yeah. Chris, I see you have looks like you're yearning to say something.
Yeah, I think I would add to that, in our everyday lives, we have a lot of tedious and mundane tasks that we just get tired of doing, and we're humans, they're error prone. Why not automate those processes and allow people to focus on what machine learning can't solve, more strategic analysis and decisions that humans can make? That's really where you want to, have your employees spending their time and your own time.
Exactly. Thank you. So David has a question in the Q&A. Could a machine learning application help a sales team improve its sales process with different customers?
I would say absolutely.
Yeah, you can do things like putting all the different leads into a forecast model that can help you, for one, know if you have enough staff or the right number of people to handle your leads. But it can also generalize on what the different types of customers need. Maybe you're selling across different types of industries, for example, or maybe within one industry, but to different sizes of businesses. And you can use machine learning models to help you match those customers with the products that you sell. They can also help you strategize your contact schedule. They can let you know if maybe you've got some heavy hitter salespeople that are really good at dealing with a specific type of business, and you can, match them up really well. It's something that can help your management and also help your salespeople.
Great, thank you. Good question, David. Next, another question that I thought was pretty interesting. Does every machine learning problem require a custom solution, or is this something we can just get like off the shelf kind of product?
The answer is both, actually. And you never want to reinvent the wheel if there's something available. Obviously, there's a price versus performance. So some software solutions historically are very expensive to build. So if you can get that solution for $100 a month or $50 a month or whatever, why would you pay thousands of dollars to build your own? But these are usually purpose-driven to fix a specific problem. And sometimes your problems are more complex than that. And you might be able to use multiple tools. And if they have an integration together, that can provide you with a solution. But for the really complex problems, I would say like the 80-20 rule, right? Like these chat bots and other stuff that's off the shelf, that might solve 80% of the problems. But if you have a problem that is so unique to you that kind of solution isn't going to work, then that's where you explore building a custom solution. And I think that starts with determining, what is the value of solving this problem? What does it free me up to do? How much money is it going to save me? How much of a catalyst can it be to driving new revenue?
Great, thank you. Okay, so we have about 10 more minutes. So again, if you have a question for Matt or Chris, please put it in the Q&A. Let's go to our next question. So you talked about Smart Dispatch and how using Smart Dispatch would save a business money. But one question that we got asked was, how would Smart Dispatch make more money for my business?
Take a crack at it, Matt.
Yeah, sure. So it's kind of like I was saying before with increasing the productivity of your people. For one obvious answer is that, revenue is part of it and cost is the other part. So your profit is really the difference between the two. So if you decrease your cost and you're increasing your profit, if you want to just increase revenues, having Smart Dispatch is going to allow those customer service agents or your salespeople to be dealing with the right questions at the right time, or putting the people that are best there to answer your questions in front of your right customers. And that's going to help you to convert more sales. If you've got questions coming in, rapid fire to a customer service agent that can't answer any of them, they're not going to be ready when the opportunity presents itself later, when that customer is ready to buy something. So this is going to make your agents stronger, more confident, and more comfortable in what they're doing. And that will turn into more revenue.
Also, I would add,
lower costs.
yeah, I would add to that, customer service is a hot button issue. If you can't keep up with the emails coming into the queue, the perception of your company is going to be that you're taking too long to respond, or you're not providing good support. By using a system like this to prioritize and to properly route the messages and allow you to respond faster, you're going to be killing it in customer service. And customers that like a company, they become your advocate. And so they go out and market for you. And referrals are the best ways to get business, because they already come with trust inherently, versus the customer acquisition cost of going out and running ads to find new customers that you have no connection to directly or indirectly.
Yeah, absolutely, Chris. That's right. And yeah, when you're talking about repeat business too, those acquisition costs were already paid for those customers. If you can get them to buy from you 3 or 4 times with having excellent customer service, that's so much cheaper that it's already money you've already spent on acquiring them. So that's right.
Great, thank you. Okay, let's talk more specifically about chatbots. So we're going to talk about how you can actually get revenue by having chatbots. But first, can chatbots or virtual assistants solve customer problems?
Yes, they can. And they use a mechanism called the playbook. So in your email queue, you have customers are asking you, hey, I have this particular problem. And if that happens over and over again, that's a clear indicator that you shouldn't have your customer service staff solving this problem over and over again. You put that into the playbook. And so you program the chatbot to be able to identify, hey, this is this particular problem. We have an answer for that. And you can display that to the customer before they go and reach for the phone or get a live agent on the call. And that's the same process is applied to sales, right? Like, once you get a customer on the phone and talk to them about your product or service, you're usually going through the same playbook, educating them about your product, answering questions that come up over and over again. If you put that stuff into the playbook in a chatbot, then you can interact in real time, 24/7 with your potential customer. And it's like I used to say, it's really important to answer the phone when the sales call comes in, because if you miss that call, that customer is probably just going to call the next company, your competitor. And if they answer the phone, they're going to get the deal. So the faster you can respond in real time to your customers on a 24/7 basis, the better off you're going to be, competitively speaking.
Good point, for sure. Okay, so then let's go on the other side, not just taking care of our customers, but actually, will adding a chatbot to my website add revenue?
Yeah, it can, for that very reason that Chris just mentioned. If you have let's say you've got a pretty tight business, you've got 5 or 6 employees, and 3 or 4 of them are spending 3 or 4 hours a day, half their day answering emails. They're not answering the phone. So when that client calls in, if the other people are busy, you just lost the sale because they called your competitor next, or they called the next alphabetical person on, well, I guess the next Google listing that comes up, or on DuckDuckGo. So by having people available because your virtual assistant is answering questions, or that chatbot's answering, routine questions, when a human calls that needs a human to talk to make a sale with a human, you're that human, or your other customer service agent is. And that just adds revenue right away.
Let's say that you're a software as a service company, right? And you fall into one of 2 buckets. Either you've got something that's maybe targeted towards consumers or small businesses, and it has a relatively low monthly price. Maybe it's a $10 or $20 or $50 a month subscription. You can't afford a sales staff to go out and sell that product like a traditional account manager. So you're really totally reliant on digital marketing to make that play. So to the extent that you can leverage this kind of technology to automate parts of that sales process on your website in a customer facing way, that's really going to help you to be able to achieve growth. If you're in enterprise sales and you're selling, a 1,000-person company, a $50 a month subscription, you will need and benefit from a salesperson that you can actually afford, because the price point's much higher on an enterprise software product than it is for one targeted towards a smaller audience.
Yeah, and you know what? Even yesterday, I was looking at laptops, and I'm not going to say the name of the company, but I was on their website, and the chatbot came up. Can I help you? And I'm like, yeah, I need something that's got 16 gigabytes instead of 8 for whatever. And by the end of it, I realized this chatbot just steered me to the right product, showed me how to choose the specific things I wanted to buy for my laptop, and then said, can I help you complete this sale? So I could have gone through and just made the whole sale right there with the chatbot. And that's revenue that a human didn't have to do. Well, a human programmed once upon a time. In the meantime, the other salespeople are freed up to make sales of thousands of laptops at a time to schools and whatnot.
Yeah, perfect. Okay, so here's a question. This is going to be my last question, unless another one pops up. But this is going to be one you definitely actually have to have your thinking caps on. So David in the Q&A says, thinking of Main Street businesses, do you know of any cases, or can you imagine any, where stores have found a way to use machine learning to optimize their layout and displays, maybe with video feeds? Any thoughts on that one?
That's certainly a good concept to consider. I had an uncle that worked for West Marine. I probably shouldn't say their name, but he told me about they had something called a planogram, and a planogram was used to lay out the way that the store is organized with all of their products. And he thought outside of the box, and I guess he went in and he rearranged the store contrary to the planogram, and it resulted in increasing sales. And when corporate found out about it, they're like, hey, how come you guys are doing so much better than these other stores? And he's like, oh, I threw your planogram away, So him being the eyes on the ground and interacting with customers, he got to understand what their buying patterns were, what they were looking for. And so he took it upon himself to rearrange the store in a way that was conducive to supporting the sales. So to David's point in his question, absolutely, if you have data that is providing information about what people are doing in the store, whether that's through cameras or it's logging questions or other sources of data, then you could use machine learning to be able to act on that data and to make recommendations on how you might want to change things around.
Yeah, and there's actually one other well-known store that actually doesn't use checkout. They just track you by your GPS. They follow you with camera vision. They see the flow of people that walk through their store, what items are adding their baskets or putting back on the shelf, and then leave with. They're only in a few cities. You might have heard of the Amazon Go store, but
Yeah.
that's 100% what they do. And that 100% can be used by a regular Main Street business, but please don't fire your cashiers. We can optimize your layout, but
Great.
So if you guys have any questions and you want to know more, here's a link to our website and our phone number. We'd be happy to have a conversation with you about problems just like what David presented.
Great. Thank you so much. This has really been such a, an educational presentation, and I can't believe the hour is up. It seemed like it's only been like 15 minutes. So nicely done. And I'm going to switch it back over to Doug.